Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. This is the Friday Fun Day with Sambassador version. You guys have probably never heard that before because we haven't aired any of these yet. I'm honored to be here today with Merle and Marlin, and I'm just going to let them do a quick introduction. We're here to basically get your story, find out what you guys are about, what makes you tick, and just be ready. Every one of these episodes has an aha moment when I'm like, no kidding, that's what, it always happens. So I've gotten used to it, and I'm always looking for it. So I'll try to dig it out of you today. Already had one this morning that I'm curious if it comes back up again. So tell Merle, go ahead. Tell me who you are.
Yeah, my name is Merle Stoltzfus, and live in beautiful state of North Carolina. And so been in the shed industry since 2008, and that's when we started up. So, you know, in that economy, you start at the bottom and you go up from there. And so it actually did us well. So we're very grateful. We've experienced many blessings and just grateful for the favor of God, for sure. And it's been a good ride, and just always trying to see what we can be of service and do it better and continue that. So.
And Marlin, are you related to this guy?
I am actually, somehow. I'm at the top of the line. He's at the bottom in the family.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I wondered about that.
Yeah, he's the youngest of the boys. I'm the oldest of the boys. And, my name is Merle Stoltzfus, and I live over in Chuckey, Tennessee, just close to Irwin, down in the Chuckey Valley there.
Yep.
Greenville, Tennessee is our biggest town nearby. Not far from Johnson City and all those good places, but beautiful, beautiful place to live. And I've been involved in sheds for since about '98. Used to build sheds for a guy, and then took a small break, did a few things on my own, and then in 2000 I started building sheds, and then in 2011 we got out of the sheds because we went to Kenya, Africa for 5 years and worked there. And in 2006, I also started hauling sheds. And so from 2005, 6-ish, for about 6 years, I hauled sheds till we sold out that business to Nate Stoltzfus over here in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold that to him, most of it. And in 2008, that's when Merle started working for me over here in Hendersonville. I set up that sales lot, and Merle worked there. And then in 2012, he bought that business. So at that point, I was out of sheds totally. Not involved in sheds today more than doing site preps, build gravel sites, the premium sites, concrete. We're still involved in doing support work for sheds, but not involved in building or delivering sheds at all. So, yeah.
That's interesting. You're in the South and you're putting in pads?
Some.
We're
pushing it more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it coming. I'm a diehard block guy. I am. We've always blocked our sheds.
I used to too.
Most of our rent-to-own customers couldn't afford a pad, not unless you're going to put it on rent-to-own, and you can't do that. There's no way. You just can't. So it's interesting to me to hear somebody from south of Maryland, Ohio, talk about putting pads in. So do you guys build sheds, or do you just sell sheds like?
We only sell and deliver.
Sell and deliver, okay.
Yeah, we have not stepped into the manufacturing.
Okay.
That's something where we only have 2 out of the 3 pieces of the pie there.
Okay. How many do you have your own lots?
We have 2 lots.
Okay.
Yeah, Hendersonville and Tryon. And so then we also get into horse barns is a big part of our product line as well.
Okay.
So horse barns, sheds, carports, garages, those would be the 4 main things that we've settled on.
And Merle does his own in-house RTO now too.
Okay. Yeah. On what he's selling. Yes. Very good. That's cool.
So now I have moved home. I work from home, and then the guys take care of the lots and have a driver full time. So
okay,
that's what we do.
Did why sheds? Like what you just wake up one day and you're like,
Well, Sam, I'll tell you this. The generosity cycle is amazing to me because the guy sitting right beside me, Marlin, I was quitting Gospel Express. I was a VS there. And my wife
there's one aha moment.
There was also...
He was on the bus for
Yeah.
how many years? 5
Yeah.
years? 4?
Okay.
I was with Gospel Express for 3.5, and then my wife was with the ministry in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting married, and I knew we're quitting. So we quit in... here's how the timeline goes. We quit our jobs, got married, started a new business, all in the span of 30 days.
Oh, that's a busy guy right there.
And so in 2008, you add that on top of it.
Oh, yes.
And I'm
Yep.
this young husband trying to figure out, like, what in the world? How am I going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Marlon comes along. I knew that I did not want to be, the only thing I knew I didn't want to be is a mason. I know I'm not going to get out
Not
there in the
gonna-
sun. I'm
yeah.
not going to lay blocks. I'm not going to mix mud,
Mm-hmm.
right? Other than that, everything was open. So I knew I'm quitting. I knew, getting married. I'm like, I got to provide for the new bride. And so, yeah, Marlon called me up and said, hey, would you want to sell sheds for me? And at that point, I hadn't sold a thing in my life. I'm like,
okay.
I don't know how to do this. But so we tested that market and said, okay, if we can find a place, if we can, if everything continues to open up, if the doors continue to open up, I'm just going to keep walking. So that was something to where there's more stories behind that, but the doors just opened up, and we just kept walking, and we are still walking. The doors are still open, and we walked. So I consider myself an opportunist. The opportunity was there. I had never done it before, and this guy here taught me pretty much everything I know in business. He was a huge mentor to me and was able to, just his generosity to us is just, I'll never forget it. And I'm very grateful for all that because, yeah, he taught me so much things in those first years. And
How much age difference is there in between you?
I want to say 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a 70 or
83, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah, so he was, and from that moment on, we've just always maintained, we're so different. Like he just moves and shakes and lets the pieces fly. I'm more of a calculated, I'm gonna take a risk, but I'm gonna know what my risk is, and so we work together well like that. We balance each other out pretty good. So from that moment, it's just. I knew at that point, I told my wife, I said, we need to sell $30,000 worth of products in a month for us to be able to just to pay our bills and live. And it's just, the favor of God from that moment on has just been, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So we're just very grateful.
I very well remember 2008.
Yes.
I had 13 houses in the ground.
Oh,
And I can still, I think I've actually shared this on one of my other podcasts, but it'll come up because it's a big moment in my life. I can still remember when I was sitting in the office the morning that the two guys and the girl walked into Freddie Mac. Like I can picture the sidewalk, the turn in the sidewalk, and walking in the front doors when they walked into Freddie Mac, and that started the whole effect of everything shutting down, people losing their 401ks, all that stuff. And in South Carolina, Greenville, where I was building, well, it's actually Seneca area. It's a retirement area. And most of those houses were being built off of 401ks. People were retiring. They were moving up there. $475,000 houses up to about 1.3. A lot of lake houses. And they all came in and said, we don't have any more money. So I went back to sheds. So
Wow.
that's, people get a little touchy about the economy right now and where we're at, about you see it. I don't know if you're on there's a shed sales professional page where a lot of the guys that sell sheds are on there. And every couple of weeks, at least twice a month, somebody always asks, are you selling sheds? What are y'all doing? What's happening here and there? You can tell there's a nervousness in the industry.
There is.
And the fact is we're back to normal. It's not that it's that unusual. It's just normal.
You're 100% right.
We went past normal for a couple of years, and nobody knew what to do with it. But and here's what I tell them. I said, I started in the worst economy you could start in.
Yeah.
And we grew like crazy.
Yeah.
When they can't afford to put that 2-car garage on anymore, they'll buy a shed.
Yeah.
When they can't afford to put grandma in her own house, they'll put her in a shed.
Yeah.
We see that over and over again. You have to learn how to capitalize on it, and you have to go back to work.
Yeah.
2020, 21, 22, we didn't even have to work. I mean, they just fell. But you know what? I remember Woody, and you said you know Woody from way back. So we had the bash planned for Pennsylvania in March 2020.
I was going to be there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it ended up getting canceled. But then some of us knuckleheads that just aren't going to bend, we decided we're going to get together anyway. And I remember I left home at 3:30 in the morning, and my wife was worried I wasn't going to be able to cross state lines. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it was.
Oh,
We did not know what was going to happen. And everybody in the shed industry for about 2 weeks was freaked out because it was going to just be done.
You were too.
You
I
remember that?
I know exactly that feeling.
It's so
I know
hard.
exactly where I was when I reckoned with that.
Yeah. So it is so hard. For me, I was driving to Pennsylvania in the middle of the night, and there was no traffic.
Yeah.
It was dead.
Yeah.
And we stayed there for a little while. And then people are like, no, we're not doing this.
Right.
And all of a sudden, sales just went crazy.
Yeah.
And, so now we're a little bit, do you feel that? Like, are you more back to what you consider normal?
Yeah, you've said it very well, because the 2020, I looked at that, 21, 22, I'm like, okay, what is our new normal? This is not sustainable, I don't think. But what I love about the shed industry is that when one goes through it, we all go through it. Mm-hmm. So you talk about that little nervousness and all that kind of stuff, because it's not just when we ebb and we flow. I look back and I say, okay, is it something I'm doing, or do I need to? And I start reaching out, and I'm like, okay, it's soft other places too. Mm-hmm. But I would now call what we're in now the new normal. I would call now it just feels soft. Like it's not bad, it's not great. It's just soft.
That's a good word.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
It's like it's we're continuing on, and people are just a little bit. There's so much money out there. The money has not disappeared in our economy right now. It's just people are not letting go of it. People are just scared to let go of it. You get past the election, I think it'll change.
Yeah, that's the other thing we're in. So now we're post-pandemic, but we're also in an election year. And I can go back, so I still have all my, when I started back up, I actually went back to trucking for a while, did ice road trucking, did some other stuff, and then got back into sheds. So I didn't really get going in sheds till about 2010, even though I was doing some stuff in the shed industry. Mm-hmm. But in 2010 is when I actually went back to selling and delivering. Same thing you did. Mm-hmm. And then 3 years later, we started building. 4 years later, we were building everything. And by 2016, we were running 11 lots in the upstate.
Yeah.
I did not have dealers. We had our own company lots. Mm-hmm. We hired all our own sales guys, did everything that way. But it's every time, like I can go back in my records, and every time there's an election year, the sales are still there. But it's exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. It's like people tend to sit on their money just a little bit tighter. The sad thing about this country is we elect people that are from the same bird. Yeah. I'm not going to get political, but it's the left wing and the right wing of the same bird. Yeah. But we get it in our heads that if our wing doesn't win, we're going to lose something. And it's just a given. We tighten up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Stuff changes just a hair. I've got buddies that are in the buy here, pay here car business that do all their own financing and stuff like that, and then they have their own finance companies. They say that it's the same thing. It's the same thing across the board. I got a buddy that puts pools in, and even in the housing industry, we used to watch that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Election years are a little more soft.
Yep.
So it's understandable that we're in that a little bit. What do you think affects like the area you're in? Introducing the Challenger, the revolutionary new shed mover that's taking the industry by storm. The Challenger features a touchless design, ensuring it only makes contact at the end of the skids and the bottom of the floor joists, so rest easy knowing your gable walls will remain pristine. Worried about reliability? Fear not, the Challenger is always up for the challenge and will not overturn or scuff your shed. Harness the power of innovative wireless technology. Remotely control the Challenger via your smartphone. No cell service needed. And guess what? The cell phone remote comes standard with every Challenger at no extra cost. Featuring floating forks, a 4-directional tilting mast, and sliding weight transfer, move the shed weight precisely where you need it to get ultimate traction. With self-loading capability straight onto your truck, say goodbye to the need for a hydraulic carriage. The Challenger makes your job easy and more efficient. Choose from 2 machine sizes, 10,000 pounds and 15,000 pounds. Perfect for any job. Visit us at the Shed Expo in Michigan this September. Find us at booth 552. Don't miss out. Visit www.shedchallenger.com or email us at info@shedchallenger.com or call or text 828-220-3508 for more information. Experience the future of shed moving with the Challenger.
I'm not sure how to answer that question. What do you mean?
So I see companies all across the board, like northern New York, all the way to southern Arizona to middle of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the area that you sell in as far as, is it a strong economy? Do you feel like it struggles more, or what is this area like?
Yeah, good question. So we, up in Hendersonville, that area is where a lot of retirees come.
Mm-hmm.
They have a mountain home. There's a lot of Florida people that have their second home, their mountain home in that Asheville, Hendersonville area. And so for that reason, my client base up there is fantastic. Like they are, they're great on payments. They're great, buyers. They're solid because, that's an older clientele, the 45 to 60, those are great, solid people. Here in this county, it changes just a little bit because we are in kind of a change because this used to be one of the poorer counties of North Carolina, but then the Equestrian Center came in, and now it's turning into this kind of horse mecca.
Yeah.
And so we are now right in the middle of equestrian area. So property values are going up, and different people are coming in, and then also it gives us an opportunity to get into our horse barns. So we kind of separate them out because we do our sheds mostly up there in the Asheville area, and then the horse barns we do down here. So that's kind of how we do all the products at every place. But yeah, this is a great area. It's mountains. People, a lot of Florida people, like I said, are in this area. They come up here to cool off a little bit in the summertime. Believe it or not,
our northern counties have that same thing. It seemed like, so back when I was doing houses, it seemed like most of my customers were either from Florida or New York. Some of them were trying to get away from just ridiculous cost of living, and others were trying to, find a little cooler place to hang out. They still keep their Florida places.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me was the New York people sold out. They left.
Interesting.
I probably built 30, 40 houses for people from New York, New Jersey, Delaware, up in that area. And they would almost always sell out. And the crazy thing is some of them were building places for what they were paying in 10 years in taxes up there. Crazy.
Wow.
So the reason I asked that question, do you know what your most popular sales are? You said you do horse barns. Do you do is a lot?
We, at the beginning, horse barns were about 60% of our sales. And so we just kept on pushing sheds because where we are up there in Hendersonville, that area thinks self-storage.
Okay.
And now we were one of the first shed companies in Hendersonville. There was one just outside of, in order for people to think, oh, I can have something in my backyard versus going across town to the self-storage.
That's interesting.
It took a long time to see that culture change. And I'm going to say about 10 years. And then more competition started coming in. And then all of people realized that, hey, I can get one of these. And from that moment, our sheds overtook the horse barns. So we're
you're doing more sheds now, or
it's about
close?
50-50.
Okay,
about possibly 55-45 the other way. But yeah, it's been fun to watch that happen. The sheds come up.
So when you started selling sheds, did you do your own deliveries?
No.
You've always had somebody that's helped you do deliveries?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when we
Initially-
started, I was doing deliveries too.
Oh, you were doing deliveries.
I did deliveries
Okay.
for a number of years.
Okay.
And like Merle said, we started up there in Hendersonville. Merle was working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing all the deliveries at that point.
You were living in Chucky and doing deliveries in Henderson.
Yeah, I'd come over every
Bill.
week. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
It's 2
But he was
it's
also-
2 hours. It's nothing. I wouldn't even go 2 hours from my lots. I mean, okay. So I live in a unique area. In my opinion, there's almost not a better place in the U.S. to live than Greenville, South Carolina.
Beautiful.
You're dead in the middle of Atlanta and Charlotte.
right.
It's a beautiful area. You're in the foothills. We have gorgeous lakes. We have mountains. You can be in Gatlinburg in 3 hours. I mean, and you can be in the beach in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I driving an hour and a half when I can drive 45 minutes? You don't do the same thing. So I was spoiled. I mean, I really was.
Right.
I had 11 lots, and all of them were within 75 miles, and they would all do over $1 million a year. So there was no reason to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I went through a phase from 2013, 14, and 15, where I decided I was going to. So my goal was always to go from Montgomery, Alabama to Richmond, Virginia. That's the whole 85 corridor. I had a big dream. I was going to cover that whole area. So along that route, I dropped off into Columbus, Georgia, which ended up putting me a lot in Albany, Georgia, which is nowhere close to 85. And so 2 days a week for 3 years, I would get up Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'd get up at 2 a.m., and I go to Columbus, do all my deliveries there, drive down to Albany, do all my deliveries there, and then drive back home. And I get home anywhere from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock that night. And then up at 6:30 next morning and go do your local deliveries. And then one day I was like, this is crazy. I can sell those. I can put 2 lots in up here, just like those lots, and do the exact same thing. So I chunked those and came back home. I did all my own deliveries for almost 5 years. I hired sales guys, and then I did all the deliveries.
That's the way I always was too. And so back to that, when we started, I was doing all the deliveries, and then the distance started catching up with me because I'd run all the way down to Wagler's, pick up horse barns and deliver, and deliver for us, and I'd also deliver for them at times, like Florida and whatever. And it was getting so heavy, and so about that time, Merle suggested, well, why don't you get a driver and have him over here? And so at that point, Nate Stoltzfus needed a job. And so I put a truck over here, and pretty soon I had a semi and a smaller rig. Then he was doing all my long runs. And it was so nice because he could come over and pick up sheds over there in Tennessee. And if I needed, he could help us deliver over there and come over here. So it started out as 1 day a week. Pretty soon it was 2 days a week. And it wasn't long. He was 5 days a week.
He was 5 days
every day.
Yeah. So you were selling sheds in Chucky too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there
All
was
right.
3 of us shed shops that worked together-ish.
Okay. All right.
We had our different lines. And you're talking about competition, how good that is. People don't like it always, but it worked so well. We all had our different lines. We would go to Virginia. We would go different places, North Carolina, and we'd set up a lot, and we'd all 3 put our sheds there and have one sales.
No.
Yes.
You can't do that in the
It
shed
worked so
industry.
great.
Did you not? Did nobody tell y'all?
Does nobody know about synergy?
Yeah, for
It's
real.
so beautiful. It works powerful.
Yep.
So we would go in and drop 30 sheds at one place and just start selling sheds.
Yes.
And I would deliver all 3. So it's like, well, how do you deliver your competition sheds? I'm like, it's
You pick
beautiful.
it up and set it on the trailer, and you take it out and you
It's
deliver
beautiful. It works so nice. It's powerful. I got to experience it over and over.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I would lose a sale because somebody would opt for another one, but totally fine.
That goes the other way,
It goes the other way too.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing started growing. Pretty soon I had different trucks. Then I had Nate over here working. And then in 2011 is when we went to Kenya. And then
Yeah.
I sold half of the trucks to Nate.
Okay.
And half of them stayed over there. And then Nate was hauling for Merle at that time. And then some years later, Merle got his own rig.
Mm-hmm.
So that it just kept growing. And yeah, the working together, friendly competition thing is one of the biggest things that people can learn in business, and it's so beneficial.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly.
It's not like, hey, I'm and now we do excavating, and I feel it sometimes like, well, I ain't gonna get you to help me because you're my competition. I'm like, get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can help each other. I have no problem. You help me, I help you. It's
Yeah.
there's just
You know
nothing
what?
like it in business.
You just reminded me of when we lived in Missouri and moved to Kentucky. When we lived in Missouri, it was a whole lot more small. Well, I mean, it was a more agriculture area, and you had to concentrate and focus on working with others because you weren't going to make it any other way. Everybody worked together all the time.
Yeah.
And then when we moved to Kentucky, it was right the opposite. There was work for everybody everywhere, and don't you
Don't step
you
on my
stay
territory.
over there and I stay over there. I told you guys before we started that I thrive on competition. I love to win. That's why I finally quit playing softball because it was just too, it was like, you know what? I'm just to the point I got to get out. I love playing all sports, but softball, you're not going to win. That's just the way it is, And for me, competition is, I want you to have all the same resources I do, and then I want to beat you. I posted a story on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I don't even remember what country the runners were now, but there was a country that had a couple that I guess they were at the Olympics or something, and they were doing a marathon. And the guy that was way in the lead got up close to the finish line, and he got confused by the signs, and he quit. He wasn't across the finish line yet.
Wow.
And the guy coming up behind him grabs him and pushes and shoves him across the finish line in front of him. And it's a fairly long story, but the whole point of the story for the guy in second place that grabbed him and pushed him across says, I want to beat him at his best.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I am.
Yeah, that's very well.
And the crazy thing about that is when I give you all my resources, we become friends. And then I don't even care anymore. It's like, let's both win. We talk about there's win-wins. Well, there's win-win-wins, when everybody wins,
Right.
And even your customers, when you start working together with others in your area, it bleeds into every part of your business there is. It bleeds into your employees, into all your salespeople, your haulers, your drivers, your builders, and it bleeds over into your customers. I know areas where it works like that. And then when you go into other areas, that I'm being sarcastic when I said, you can't put 3 different companies on the same lot. Because there are literally a bunch of shed companies out there that would never let you sell somebody else's shed with theirs. In fact, Shed Gal and I right now are in the middle of putting in mega lots. And that was one of the things we wanted to do. We wanted to have 7 to 8 different manufacturers on the same lot. And it's interesting how my friends receive that as manufacturers. Some of them are like, oh, whoa. I mean, like, how's that going to work? I'm like, you just set your sheds out there. You deliver them like you normally do. I'll sell them for you.
Right.
And, his sheds are over there. And it's interesting to see those who open up to that and those who don't. All right, that was a rabbit trail. Unlock the power of productivity with Cardinal Leasing. Are you looking to elevate your business operations with top-tier equipment? Look no further than Cardinal Leasing. We offer a wide range of reliable and high-quality equipment tailored to meet your unique needs. Flexible leasing options. Whether you need short-term rentals or long-term solutions, our customizable leasing plans are designed to provide maximum flexibility and affordability. Conventional financing available. Cardinal Leasing also offers great conventional finance options for those of you that prefer that over-lease purchase options. Expert support. Our team of experienced professionals is here to guide you every step of the way, ensuring a seamless leasing experience. Boost efficiency. With our top-of-the-line equipment, you can enhance productivity, reduce downtime, and achieve your business goals faster. Why choose Cardinal Leasing? Competitive rates, exceptional customer service, hassle-free process, quick and easy approvals. Don't let outdated equipment hold you back. Partner with Cardinal Leasing today and take your business to the next level. Contact us now. Visit our website at equipment.cardinalleasing.us or call us at 618-803-4086 to get started. The reason I wanted to ask you about did you do your own hauling or not? So we're going to switch a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys are onto something. You're onto something new. I don't think anybody really knows that it's y'all. James has kind of stuck his neck out there a little bit. I'm just assuming you were dragging a shed up a hill one day with your pickup truck, and you're like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So let's get into the story of why you're building a shed mover, and you're not just building a shed mover, but you want to build a business of shed movers. I can understand the out of the box thinking. I do it all the time. I'm in the middle of building something that's like crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So take it away.
Well, the story is, I would say, two-pronged. One is, again, Marlin had the original idea, and you produced a couple of these, what we now know as a shed boss. James builds a shed boss. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Sure
So
you
that
know
came
those.
through you too.
That
Okay.
was actually Marlin's idea. And then,
But James did the R&D.
yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
said, I want something.
Yeah.
I don't want
So
the
how did you get to know James? Back up a little bit here. Is that who you were buying trailers through?
Right, yeah. So it goes back further than that. He married my sister, our sister, our oldest sister.
You're kinfolk.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So he married our oldest sister, and I married his sister. So we've been.
Oh no.
We've.
We're hold on. We're kinfolk twice over.
Yeah, we're thick.
So your kids have that double cousin
They
thing
do.
going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Very
we don't
good.
go to family gatherings without the other one always being there.
Oh, yeah.
somewhere.
Sure.
So yeah, we went to school together. Yeah, long time.
So you
We
would
go
have
way
you would
back.
have obviously known James when he bought that business from PD.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done
He
well
used to
there.
work for Danny
Yes.
Troyer, which came up with that side shift tail, and
Yep.
then PD took it. James took
Yep,
it.
yep.
And so yeah, it's been a good bit. And I used to buy all my shed trailers from James.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a Pine Hill, and always liked James's trailer. Bought a new one every year because I had 3 or 4, and then I just cycle them.
Yep.
So yeah, it goes way back there. And anyway, so I did not want to. I was just, I guess I like new things, but I don't like to spend a lot of money for new things.
Yeah.
You know, just because it's there, I'm just not just going to go buy it.
Yeah.
And so I told James one day, I said, I need something that's cheaper, simple. I'm not looking to move big sheds around because we delivered everything with trailers back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had never owned a mule. And so we did everything with trailers, but I had fancy trailers. They had all the stuff on it that you could get, everything that James would make. And so we worked hard, did a lot of deliveries. I love deliveries. I really did. I
Same
thrived
here.
on it.
I did
when,
too. I love
When
it.
I started Merle, I said, Merle, I can't do what you do in the office. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to do what you do either.
You couldn't pay
we
me
were-
enough
No,
to do what
you were-
you guys are doing. You couldn't pay me the sum of the world
Right.
to pay to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why we were such a good fit, because I would not make it in an office sitting behind a desk. I can't do that.
Yep.
I could, but I wouldn't thrive. It's
Yeah.
not who I am.
Yep.
But put me behind a truck somewhere delivering something. Give me a challenge. I always say, give me a sticks or a steering wheel.
Yeah. We'll
I'm
figure it out.
Totally happy.
You're good.
Yeah.
And so I told James, make me something. And I said that what I want is something that simply picks up the shed and transfers the weight back. So that's the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And from there, and then I had a couple of those shed bosses, and James has built them over the years, just here and there,
yeah.
some.
But the interesting thing about the Shed Boss, though, is it kind of, you made, what, 2 or 3, maybe 4 of them, and sold a little bit here and there.
It died
but
off.
It just kind of like went to nothing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, James, he started saying, hey, I think this Shed Boss is onto something a little bit. And so then he resurrected it on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle of all that, in 2017, we go to a family gathering, and before the family gathering, I woke up one morning with a dream, just saying, I saw the concept for what we're doing now.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying, we need to perfect what you started with the Shed Boss. Like, here's how I think it can be perfected. And so we sat around that. I still remember. I could take you to that spot.
I could too.
That table,
right out there in that
room.
living, yeah.
And we sat down with some paper and we scratched out some stuff. And so from there, the concept was made, or came up with, saying, okay, we can perfect what they've started.
Yeah.
So it started with the Shed Boss, and from there, it's Marlin's son, his oldest son. Man, he spent hours just thinking this thing through, thinking it through, laying in bed thinking about it. And what he came up with was that double mast thing you saw. And it's just simply a way to put a foot down, transfer the weight back over, and now you've got the weight, you can do with it whatever you want. And so that's how the concept came about. And so, man, you still take it from that notepad paper in 2017 to, just trial and error and making this thing work. And it was maybe it was March of 2019, when we loaded that thing on the truck for the first time.
The first prototype.
Do you guys understand how often we sit around at family get-togethers and we talk about ideas and stuff, and nothing ever happens?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I can so identify with what you're talking about. Just because I remember back when my brother and I, we were young squirts, and Dad had us build miter saw tables. And then DeWalt stole that idea and built exactly what we were doing.
oh, wow.
And we talked about that, and we made, we came up with our own system and used it, but the extra push that it takes to go from an idea to putting it in place and then to turn around and actually move forward.
It takes time, money, and belief.
Yeah.
I mean, you put those 3 together, put some patience with it. And
you lost
Stick
me.
it out.
I have zero patience.
But I'm just saying, from that concept
Yeah.
to now, we're 7 years later, and we have a prototype that I feel is still can be bettered. But my goodness, how far we've come, in those 7 years. But that prototype 1 that we came up with was embarrassing to look at. I mean, one guy looked at that and said, he wants to puke, after he sees that. It's just a tank of a machine, right?
Yeah.
But all we had to do was prove a concept.
Yeah.
And then we had to all just refine it from there.
And you're still talking about that. Like you guys have still, you still see stuff that you want to change, make better, do different. Yeah, there will be. That's all part of the process of it. And we should always be getting better at whatever we're doing. So you end up with your first one like this. You've been running this one, you said 4 years?
Prototype 1, we've been running since 2019.
Okay. Almost 5 years.
19, 20, 21, and 22. And we did pick this one up till a year ago. So we ran it for 5 years.
Okay. And then you've been running this one a little over a year.
That's correct.
Okay.
Prototype 2.
What's your goal as far as how far do you have to go? Like you're running this one on your own driver's rig.
That's correct.
What's the goal look like as far as when do you get comfortable that you think you can build one for somebody else? What does that look like? This fall.
This fall we are in production right now.
Okay.
So the way that looks is we put the teaser out there, or I say we, James did.
Yeah, James.
With the Creekside there. So he put the teasers out there, and just you get all the feedback. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Always.
Yeah. But what all we needed to do was get some idea out there saying, hey, there could actually be a different way of doing it, right? There might be a different way of moving that shed. There might be a way of, instead of pushing in gable walls, hey, there's a different way of doing it, right? Instead of laying over in somebody's back, there's a different way of doing it, right? And so that's all we wanted to do was just put the thought out there, just plant that seed that, hey, there is a different way. Just hold on a little bit. We're getting there. But from that, what I found incredibly interesting, Sam, is that people are putting orders in, having never seen the machine except through videos and photos, and they don't even know the exact final cost yet.
Yeah.
And because we're still developing it, the prototype 2, which, you have the cell phone technology, you have all that, like the costs to develop that were really high on this machine. So we can't go off of these prices because we'd price ourselves out of the market.
Yes. Yeah.
So right now we're working on bringing those costs down. We're working on, refining that manufacturing process, but we have a 10K machine and a 15K machine being built right now. And so we will hopefully display both of those at the Shed Expo.
At the Shed Expo.
At the Shed Expo
Very good.
in Michigan.
Okay.
So
I was going to ask you if you're coming to the expo.
we are
We have a
reserved,
booth.
and so we will have at least one machine. We're doing our absolute best to get 2 machines displayed there. That way the customer can see the 10 and the 15K.
Yes.
And I think they're going to be some sweet machines that come out of because we're just going to continue to refine them.
Yeah.
And we've come up with something that I'm 95% happy with. Like there's just a couple things that we want to change, but it's come a long way.
Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. This was part 1 of a 2-part episode, so be sure to listen next week to finish today's podcast.